Hey fish friends, Zenzo with Tazawa Tanks, back with another video. So it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I made my last video on my DIY aquaponics setup. And it's a beautiful day today in San Francisco. The sun's out, the sun is bouncing off of the water. I've made a couple of changes and, well, not so much changes. I just added some fish and threw in some duckweed, but the plants are really taking off. So I thought I'd make a quick little video to showcase this system again. Well, here we are back at the aquaponics setup. So you can see there's lots of produce there. I'm going to talk about that shortly. If you recall, this is a 120-gallon tub that I made out of plywood and 2x4s and pond liner. It's 4 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet, so 120 gallons. And I have 8 fish in there. I actually have some comets. I found some colorful comets with some patterns, and then I also have some shabunkins in there. Now they're still very small. It's hard to see. Probably not going to be able to see any with all the duckweed here in the way. But, you know, you might think that 120 gallons is a little bit small for 8 larger goldfish. Or when they get big, they're all about, you know, a couple of inches right now. But obviously when they get bigger, they're going to have a lot more waste. But in this type of setup, I'm confident that this will be just fine. So I've got a pump, obviously, pumping water through this kind of DIY spray bar that I made, and this is going into the aquaponics clay-based soil. I've got lava rock underneath, and in here I have strawberries, I have red lettuce, I have kale, I've got some thyme, oregano, mint, and basil, and green onions. So these plants are doing really well. It just doesn't get a whole lot of sunlight. It probably gets maybe about 2 or 3 hours of direct sunlight a day, and that's on a sunny day. A lot of times it's just overcast here, so if it's too hot I can spray it down, but they've been doing quite well. One thing I do want to, a couple things I'll point out here. You can see the strawberries, and if you look closely you can see that they are bearing fruit. So here we have a strawberry there. There's a strawberry there. It's actually turning color. There are more down here. There's flowers, obviously. It's just great to see the activity, the bees flying around and everything. Another thing that's interesting are these green onions. So these are, you know, beautiful green onions. You can actually smell them just by walking by, touching your hand, etc. But these are green onions that I bought in a grocery store, and you can see those cut ends there. So what I do is I buy green onions in the grocery store. I cut off the edible part, and use those in cooking, and then just stick these in a glass of water for a few days. The roots start to grow, and then I just stick them in the substrate here, and they take off. So I've been doing this for a long time with green onions. I've done it in soil as well, and they just take off and do very well. So, and the great thing about it is you kind of trim it like grass. So I can come, let's say if I wanted just to eat a little bit of green onion for, you know, a recipe or something, I can just come with a pair of scissors, snip, snip, cut it, use those, and then this will actually grow back, and you'll get the stalks will continue to grow as long as the weather is good and there's a water supply and nutrient supply. Obviously with the lettuce and the kale, you know, that's going to get consumed, and you know, once you eat those, they don't continually regrow like that. So what I've done is I've actually taken this DIY bed here and started some new seedlings of spinach and kale and lettuce. So what this is, if you can tell, it's an old dog crate. So this is an old dog crate that our dog used to use before we gave him a nice wooden one. And I just flipped it upside down, took it apart, zip tied it together, and I drilled a couple of high drainage holes, but basically it's just kind of like those earth boxes, so water will sit in the bottom. There is lava rock and other material at the very bottom, and then the soil is on top of that. And then there's a rosemary bush over there. So what I will do is once we consume these vegetables, these will grow out and I will then transfer them. So right now it's kind of late in the month in July. San Francisco kind of has a late summer, so typically August, September into October is our best weather. So if you were to visit San Francisco, I would always tell someone to come in September because that's kind of the heart of our summer. And so the grow season is a little bit later in the year, so I should be able to get these grown to a full size by sometime in August, and then maybe even one more batch. The duckweed in here is kind of a funny story. So if you remember, I was in Hawaii a couple of weeks ago visiting family and on vacation. My brother is also a fish keeper and is really into the hobby. I went and saw one of his tanks that was just, it had duckweed. I had never seen duckweed so thick in my life. It was probably, I'm not exaggerating, almost an inch thick across the entire top of his tank. The tank was healthy, everything was fine. Obviously it was low light because of all the duckweed blocking it. And I said, bro, what are you doing with this duckweed? He says, well, I've been busy with other tanks and other projects. So I actually, while I was there, I grabbed a net and stuck the net in the tank and filled up a giant Ziploc bag with duckweed. I've got more downstairs in the fish room even. This is just so much duckweed here. You can't see it all, but it goes all the way underneath there. It's really thick. I just pushed some of it back so I can see try to see the fish down there. So, you know, when the goldfish grow out, they'll probably eat this as well. It also really helps in keeping the water levels, the water parameters very healthy, in addition to the filtration in the plants, obviously. So that's about it. That's kind of the update on the tank, or the tub, or the pond, or whatever you want to call it, the aquaponics system. Not quite sure about this overflow system that I have, you know, with the spray bar and with the way the flow is working. The plants are doing just fine. They're getting plenty of water. I just think I might in the future change this to a bell siphon system. And essentially what a bell siphon does is it fills up the entire container with water. When it gets to a certain height, the siphon kicks in, the whole thing drains out of the bottom, and then it starts over. So what happens is as the tub fills up with water, the roots get wet, it hits the top, the siphon starts, it drains, and then it starts to process over again. So that's also an idea. I'm not sure. I might do that over the winter after this crop is done. So, and as far as winterizing, you know, for the fish, I do have a fish room downstairs, and I just bought a bunch more tanks, so I've got a lot of space. I don't know if I'm going to pull the fish out of here or not. I think I'm probably going to leave them in here if I feel that the filtration is working, and if I maybe put in some plants in there that are cold weather plants that can help in sucking up the nitrates. And obviously the fish don't eat as much when it's cold. Here in San Francisco, it doesn't get very cold in the winter time. You know, we don't get very hot in the summer and we don't get very cold in the winter. So the water temperature in there right now is right around 62 degrees or so. So it's not very warm. It's kind of on the cool side. But in the winter, it never freezes in San Francisco. We don't get frost. We don't get snow. We don't get ice. It's very uncommon for the outside temperature to get below 40 degrees in San Francisco. And if it does, it only happens for a day or two. So If I need to, I can always throw a heater in there. I do have power out here, obviously, so I could throw a heater in there if I needed to. Another idea that I thought would be to cover this with some type of plastic to kind of retain the heat in the winter time, and just, you know, have enough space for the water to continue to flow through. Or another idea was even just building like a giant PVC frame and making like a little greenhouse over this entire structure, which would also raise the temperature by a few degrees, and that would also help any kind of plants that I decided to keep in there. So not quite sure, but the goal is probably just the plans to leave the fish in there over the winter, since it is 2 feet deep. So it's very deep. It's not in ground though, so I do concede that it would be better if it were in ground, obviously, but we don't get cold temperatures here. So San Francisco, probably in the winter time, it's probably going to be, cold days are going to be in the high 40s on average. So obviously those fish can survive in colder temperatures than that. So anyway, that is the update, and maybe the next time I update this system, maybe the fish will be bigger, or maybe I will be harvesting some strawberries or eating some lettuce or something like that. So I hope you enjoy. Hope this was helpful if you're going to build a similar system. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.